It was supposed to be a quiet Christmas Eve, the kind you see on postcards, with soft, gentle snow powdering the rooftops. But this snow wasn't gentle. It came down fast, thick, heavy flakes that swallowed the entire town in a matter of minutes. It was like a curtain falling, separating us from the rest of the world. First, the phones lost signal. A minor inconvenience, we thought. Then the power lines snapped, plunging us into a silent, flickering darkness lit only by candles and fireplaces. By midnight, every road out of town was gone, buried under an impossible amount of snow. At first, we all blamed the freak storm. We gathered around our fires, told stories, and tried to make the best of it. But then the other noises started. A faint scratching seemingly coming from inside the walls of our homes. Soft, chilling laughter echoing down from the chimneys, a sound that twisted the festive air into something sinister, and bells. We heard bells ringing where no bells hung, a discordant jingle that seemed to move through the streets, getting closer and closer. The children were the first to notice the other signs. They'd press their faces against the frosty windows, their eyes wide with a fear we didn't yet understand. They pointed to small footprints appearing in the fresh snow right outside our locked houses. There were too many of them, far too close together. The tiny prints led from the edge of the dark woods to our windows, our doors, and then, impossibly, straight up the walls, disappearing onto the roofs. Inside our homes, things began to move on their own. Toys, once sources of joy, became instruments of terror. A jack-in-the-box would slowly crank its handle in a dark corner, its eerie tune playing without anyone touching it. Stuffed animals, their button eyes seeming to watch us, would whisper names of people no one had spoken aloud in years. The comforting nostalgia of Christmas was curdling into dread. That's when the elves came out. And they were nothing like the cheerful, rosy-cheeked helpers from the stories. These creatures were thin and twisted, their limbs long and spidery. They moved with a jerky, unnatural gait, and their grins were stretched far too wide across their pale faces, revealing rows of sharp, needle-like teeth that clicked together when they laughed. Their eyes glowed like dying embers in the dark. They didn't knock. They didn't need to. They crawled from the chimneys, spilling out of the fireplaces like soot. They squeezed through air vents and materialized from the deepest shadows of the room. They dragged rusty chains that scraped against the wooden floors, and they carried large, wriggling sacks that moved as if something inside was still alive, still struggling. These elves didn't kill. Their purpose was something else. They collected. They moved through the houses with a silent, terrifying efficiency. Anyone who tried to fight back was simply marked with a strange, dark symbol that glowed for a moment on their skin before they were dragged away. Anyone who tried to hide was found instantly, as if the shadows themselves were betraying them. The elves worked quickly, their movements practiced and ancient, like they had been doing this for centuries. And through it all, you could feel a sense that somewhere out in the howling storm, something much, much larger was watching, orchestrating the whole horrifying harvest. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. The bells finally stopped ringing. The scratching ceased. The town was quiet again, wrapped in a blanket of pristine, undisturbed snow. When morning came, the sun rose on a scene of chilling emptiness. The impossible snow had melted away as quickly as it had arrived. The roads were clear. The houses stood empty, their doors slightly ajar. Inside, stockings still hung by the fireplaces, filled with treats. Plates of cookies and milk for Santa sat untouched on the tables. There were no signs of a struggle, no broken furniture, no blood. There was nothing to suggest the nightmare that had unfolded. Only the muddy, tiny footprints leading away from the homes, back into the deep, dark forest. And somewhere deep in those woods, beneath the faint, lingering sound of chains dragging through the earth, the elves waited. They were smiling their impossibly wide smiles, their ember-like eyes already looking forward to next year, waiting for the next quiet Christmas Eve. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe.